Hey Wargamers, Games Workshop finally revealed the silhouetted model that we've seen since the beginning of the year, and it is the Kroot Lone Spear. And I gotta say, this is probably one of the best models, and in terms of rules, one of the best units that Games Workshop will be releasing for the new Kroot detachment that's coming up with the Codex. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about the model. Let's talk about the rules that we have and why you're probably going to be taking at least 3 of these guys. So starting off with the model, it is awesome, right? It's just a really nice sculpt, very cool, very thematic, and it fits with multiple rumor engine images. There's a couple different ways you can build this guy, and some of the models, some of the images that we have from the rumor engine match up with the version that you see here with the javelin and spears. Those are things that we've seen in the rumor engine, and so it's cool to see that come full circle and know exactly where those go. Games Workshop also confirmed that this is releasing in Wave 2. It's not coming out alongside the Army Box. You're going to have to wait. If you pick up the Army Box, it's going to be some time after that they will release the whole slew of new Kroot, presumably alongside the Codex. So you'll have to wait a little bit, but hopefully not too long. And then the little bit of sad news is that there was a version of the article that posted that suggested that this was the final Kroot reveal. Now, they took it down, they revamped it to maybe give us a little bit of hope that there's going to be some new Kroot coming in the Warhammer World preview that's coming up or something like that. But as far as we know right now, this is it. So the second half of the Kroot reveals included the Trail Shaper, the Hounds, and the Lone Spears. And that was basically the 3 new units that we expected to see going into the second half. So not a big surprise that this is the end of the road for the new Kroot reveals, although there is a glimmer of hope that we will get something new a little bit later on as well. Now, what is this thing? Well, it is a new sniper unit. Presumably, it will have lone operative because it is a lone spear. Hopefully, they didn't miss the mark on the name that much. It certainly seems like as a sniper unit, having lone operative would be a part of the deal. And once we get into the rest of the rules here, you'll see why having lone operative will almost be necessary for this model to stay on the board, because it is going to be a high profile target for your opponent to remove. And so having lone operative is really going to be something that I'm looking for in the rules once they finally release. They didn't say whether or not it was a character. And so if it is a character and we can see it join something, then maybe this isn't as big of a deal. But presumably I would think that they would say that it was a character kind of front and center. And so maybe this is really just more of a solitary model unit, right? Like kind of like the Ghost Kill isn't a character. It has lone operative, but it does its own thing by itself. It doesn't come in units or anything like that. So I'm kind of thinking that this is more of where the Lone Spear lands, is in this lone operative single model unit type of role. It also hits at a lot of the speculation that we had coming into this release cycle. We were thinking that it wasn't a multi-model unit. You can check out our earlier videos talking about this particular preview and what we expected it to be. So we hit the mark on that. Early on, we said that it was going to be a sniper character. We also more recently said that it was going to be a Packmaster as an alternative, and we kind of get both of those in this. So I'm going to count that as kind of a win. And then finally, I said that I was riding a Salamander, and once you know, Games Workshop didn't call it a salamander, they called it a calamandra, which is almost exactly the same as a salamander. You just got a couple letters moved around there. So I think that we did a pretty good job calling what this thing was going to be, and that's just exciting. So let's take a look at what the different Wargear options are for this guy. So as I mentioned, there are 2 different ways that you can build this guy. You can either build him with explosive javelins or with the Kroot long gun. And I will point out that early on we said that it wasn't a rifle or a Kroot gun, but it was something else. And indeed it is a Kroot long gun. So that was kind of cool. Looking at the javelins, which we saw in the previous slide, those we don't have rules for, but presumably they're going to be a blast weapon with a low damage profile. Something more of like an anti-infantry type of weapon you would expect, whereas the Kroot long gun is your proper solid sniper rifle. And so it has range 36, 1 attack, BS 3 up, which is notable for a couple reasons. Strength 6, AP -2, 3 damage with heavy and precision. And so that heavy and precision means that he's really going to be able to fill that role of a sniper, picking out characters, and he's going to be hitting on 2-ups if he doesn't move. Now, he probably is going to be wanting to do some moving, so maybe you're not going to get the full advantage of that, but there are some workarounds, which you'll see in a moment. The Kroot long gun itself is just like a really nice weapon to have in amongst the Kroot. It does harken back to some of the sniper modality that the Kroot had when it was like 6th or 7th edition, right? A little bit ago, but Kroot had this really great role as snipers. It's nice to see that come back in a proper way with a little bit more of, a little bit more meat on it. Having the Kroot long gun is a solid weapon, and it's going to be kind of an important part of the Tau army as a whole, not just Kroot. If we look at this profile with precision, this is our best sniper, our best sniper unit, hands down. And if it has lone operative, that's even better. So I think you're going to be picking these guys up no matter what, but especially if you're playing Kroot. Having the ballistic skill at 3-up also is interesting because it suggests that maybe we're going to see an increase in ballistic skill for shapers in general. Right now, shapers are at a BS 4-up. Now, they fill a very different role now as they will in the new Codex, so maybe that's just part and parcel. But having a BS 4-up right now, and then this guy having a BS 3-up, maybe we're going to see shapers bump to a 3-up too. That would be nice. That would make sense given the kind of heightened role that shapers are playing in the new Codex as, more proper leaders as opposed to just, auxiliary sergeants. So having that increased ballistic skill is something that I look forward to seeing across the board for multiple Kroot units, not just the lone spears here. So let's talk about why I think this is going to be a staple unit for anybody bringing Kroot. It has a rule called Advanced Scouting. Each time this model makes a ranged attack that hits an enemy unit until the end of the turn, each time another Kroot model from your army makes an attack that targets that enemy unit, you can reroll the hit rolls. That is a massive force multiplier. It is giving full hit rerolls, not just rerolling ones, full rerolls to hit, and until the end of the turn. That means your shooting phase, that means your close combat phase. Any and all hits can be rerolled, which is amazing. So it doesn't require wounding. It means you're going to be hitting on a 2-up if you're stationary, 3-up otherwise. So you have a really good shot of proccing this effect. And then you're getting to reroll all your hits in shooting and melee for all other Kroot units. It doesn't expire. It's not like a marker light used to be, or it's not like how For the Greater Good works, where you need to have a 1-to-1 or anything like that. You get one hit with this guy that's hitting on a 3-up or a 2-up. The entirety of your army rerolls to hit. Assuming we're talking just about the Kroot here, right? Not the Tau units, but the Kroot themselves get to reroll all their hits just from this one guy saying, "Hey, poop." Now we get to reroll all of our hits. That is an amazing effect, and this is why I'm saying it is almost necessary that this thing is either a character or has lone operative, because it is going to be very, very tempting for your opponent to just wipe this guy off the table right away. Now, earlier we had assumed that this was going to be more of a Packmaster, and indeed they show it here alongside a bunch of Kroot Hounds, which is interesting. But it's actually better than a Packmaster. Yes, it does the functionality of a Packmaster in the way that we thought that maybe a Packmaster would allow reroll to hits or something for Hounds. But it's not just Hounds. It's all Kroot. It's your Carnivores. It's your Farstalkers. It's your Hounds. It's your Krootox. It's your Rampagers. It's your other Shapers. All of those guys get to reroll their hits. And so it's not just a Packmaster. It is a Kroot Master. And in this image, right, it's kind of confusing because they are showing it next to the Hounds, which again fits with the Packmaster idea. But this unit of Hounds also has a Trail Shaper, which we know is a character. So is it that the Hounds are being led by the Shaper? Is it that the lone spear can join a unit that already has a leader. That would kind of, not fit with the whole lone spear naming convention, right? Like, yeah, they're not really lone anymore if they're joining a big old unit. So, um, but so what, it's a little weird that they show this image here with the lone spear in close proximity, and so I kind of think that this might just be staging in order to have a cool looking picture, but nonetheless, having this functionality is absolutely amazing. Whether it's a character or a lone operative, presumably a lone operative, these things are just gangbusters. And it's not just that they work well on their own, they offer a lot of synergy, particularly with some of the new releases that we've seen. So advanced scouting makes just everything better, right? You can shoot and then charge with carnivores, so you're getting both benefits to hit with shooting and then also benefits in melee. Like, that's a great way to double dip and get a lot of mileage out of these guys. Statistically, you're going to get the biggest benefit on your poor hitters, right? If you're hitting on fives, let's say, you're going to get a proportional increase that's much greater there than you would if you're hitting on threes or twos or something like that, right? Being able to reroll a two doesn't actually gain you that much benefit, but being able to reroll a five gets you quite a lot, actually. So that is something that you'll want to think about when utilizing lone spears, is that you're going to get proportionally the most benefit of using them on some of your weaker units, more your volume of fire. And so that's why I'm thinking, carnivores and hounds might be really good places to leverage this ability. Kroot Ambush from the Trail Shaper also is going to be something that you're going to want to consider when utilizing lone spears. Kroot Ambush allows you to redeploy the unit that the Shaper is attached to plus one other. And guess who your other unit is going to be? Probably it's going to be your Lone Spear, because you're going to want him to have line of sight on premium targets. You're going to want him to be in the right place at the right time. And so moving your Lone Spear around with a Trail Shaper seems like, without knowing points cost or anything like that, seems like it's going to be a really attractive strategy. It's going to allow you to bait and switch, so you can put your lone spear, up in the front of the deployment zone and kind of bait your opponent into deploying aggressively against it, because again, it's going to be a high priority target. They're going to want to get that off the board as fast as possible. Being able to bait and switch with your lone spears is going to be clutch. You can also set up more targeted spearheads. So if you want to be more reactive to their deployment, you can move your lone spears or your rampagers or something else over to the side of the board where they're going to be most useful. And importantly, you can also use this type of Kroot Ambush ability to keep your lone spears safe. If you deploy and then they react to that and you're kind of caught out in the open, move your lone spear, right? It just seems like the Trail Shaper is actually going to be a really powerful tool, more so than it was apparent when they even released the Trail Shaper preview last week. This week, it just shows up even more clutch. So Trail Shapers, Lone Spears seem like they're massive utility units that you'll want to have. Lopping Pounce or Loping Pounce, I keep going back and forth. The Hound ability, the jumpy dogs, that can provide objective control. Objective control for hounds. Gives OC to the hounds if they're within range of a character. Now, when they revealed the hounds, they kind of teased at them. They're like, hey, there's this ability, and if you have a character close by, you get +1 OC, which is important because otherwise they don't have OC, at least now. And they're like, well, wouldn't it be great if there was a character that could keep up with them? And that's where the Packmaster idea kind of came from, right? But it seems like more so they really were teasing the next preview, which was the Trail Shaper. So the Trail Shaper is presumably the character that they're talking about that's going to keep up with the hounds. But if that isn't the case, and for some reason the Lone Spear is a character, then maybe the Lone Spear is able to keep up with the hounds and provide that objective control to the hounds by staying close to them. So that's something, that's pretty situational in terms of if that's even going to be a thing. a lot of unknowns there, but nonetheless, it's something to keep it on your radar in terms of how the Lone Spear might be a part of this puzzle. Otherwise, we're going to be looking at Trail Shapers as being a really important thing for Hounds. So overall, I think the Lone Spear is just an amazing model. I'm so excited that they released it, and it is going to be a huge, huge asset to Kroot, assuming it's not priced into oblivion, right? If it costs 1,000,000 points, it's not going to be worth it. But assuming something reasonable, you're going to want this. It's an amazing sculpt. It's amazing rules. You're going to want to get these guys. So hopefully there will be plenty to go around, and we won't have supply issues right off the bat. Fingers crossed. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below. Is the Lone Spear exciting to you? Is it not? Either way, let's have a conversation about it. And as always, thanks for watching and happy wargaming. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. If you stuck around to this point of the video, maybe you want to join our Discord community as well. There's a link in the description below. Special thanks to all my supporters over on Patreon, but especially the folks that you see on your screen now. If you want to help make more invasive wargaming videos, consider joining our community over there as well.